Welcome to Historic Boulder's event of the year. It is called Meet the Spirits, and you get to meet the important people that created Boulder and the area, and it's something not to be missed. Let's go check it out.
Dorothy Dot Howard. I was born March 26th, 1936 in the Texas Panhandle, but eventually my family moved out to Phoenix, Arizona. I was found murdered when I was only 18 in 1954 up in the Boulder Canyon, and I wasn't identified until 55 years later in 2009. I grew up with two younger sisters. They always called me bossy. My youngest sister Marlene used to complain that I always got to choose first when we were playing cowboys and she had to choose last, but she was the youngest and I was the oldest, so I feel like it was probably fair. My parents also knew that I always got my way. Soon after we moved to Phoenix, I got married to a man named David Powell. My parents were not very happy about it. I was only 15 and he was 19, and so they did not want to give me their permission, but they did anyway because they knew that regardless of if I had it or not, I would probably find a way to marry him. And besides, he was nice. He used to take my sister Marlene out to the grapefruit orchards to go dove hunting, and he was in the Air Force and looked cute in his uniform. Regardless, though, the marriage only lasted about 6 months. I guess it was only puppy love, but to kind of get away from everything, I ran up to Portland, Oregon right after we divorced, and that also did not last very long. My dad went up pretty much immediately, drove right up to Portland, and brought me back home to Phoenix. Soon after that, I married a man named Kenneth Kirkman. He was the manager at the place that I worked, the Strand Movie Theater. He was quite a bit older than me, and my parents didn't even know that I had gotten married to him until he posted a divorce notice in the paper after I went missing. My parents knew that I was missing after I didn't show up to take my sister Marlene to the movies. I guess I had forgotten, and I just left a note on the table with some money. It said, "Here's some money to help out, love always, Dot." They assumed that I was going up to Denver to see my Aunt Ola Mae. We were pretty close and I had run away before, so it made sense in their minds, but I never actually made it up to see her. It was April, only about a week after my 18th birthday, that the two CU Boulder boys, they were on a hike up by Boulder Falls and found my body in the Boulder Creek. I wasn't wearing anything except for 3 hairpins in my hair. I was bloody and there was nothing that they could use to identify me except for a small appendectomy scar. They didn't know if I had any family. Nobody came to claim that they knew me, and so the case was closed relatively quickly. The citizens of Boulder, even though I didn't have a family, kind of became my family. They saved up enough money and put it together to get me my first headstone that just read Jane Doe. And then, many years later, the citizens of Boulder came up to help me again. Sylvia Pedham, who's over towards the front right now, actually selling her book about me called Somebody's Daughter. She was inspired by my case after actually attending this very event. She saw the person portraying Jane Doe and was inspired to figure out who Jane Doe was, and quickly began researching to find out who she could possibly be. For a long time, they were actually convinced that I was Catherine Dyer. Catherine had disappeared around the same time that Jane Doe's body was found. However, Sylvia got a call from Australia that said that they had seen it on TV and she was Catherine Dyer's caretaker. So it could not possibly be her because she was alive and well living in Australia the entire time. So she was crossed off the list and they waited for a little while. Eventually my great niece came through and she gave her case saying that I had been missing, that I had an appendectomy scar, and fit the description fairly well of this Jane Doe that they had found. So they were able to get a DNA sample from my sister and test it against my DNA, and they were able to confirm that I was indeed Dorothy Gay Howard. And I got a name after 55 years of waiting. They believe the man that killed me was the serial killer Harvey Glattman. He was living in Denver at the time, and it was actually right around the same neighborhood as my aunt when I went missing. His first arrest actually was in Boulder, and I fit his MO pretty perfectly. I was about the same profile as the women that he tended to kill. I was found with ligature marks around my wrist, indicating that I had been tied up, and was driven far away into the wilderness out of where they assumed that I was kidnapped, which fit what he did to his victims pretty perfectly. He was put to death for killing 3 women in California in 1959, so they were unable to ever confirm if it was officially him, but there's pretty strong evidence that it was. Another notable thing is that he made an odd comment after he was arrested to one of the police officers that was with him. The officer asked if any of the women that he knew and had assaulted in Denver were alive, and he said yes, unless they'd been hit by a car. And they actually believe in the original coroner's report that I was hit by a car. I had severe injuries all along only one side of my body, which led them to believe that I had been hit on that side. And when they measured those injuries up against Harvey Glattman's car that he was driving at the time, it fit almost perfectly. So they believe that I was kidnapped, and as I was trying to run away to get help and to leave this terrible situation I was in, he hit me with his car and then took my body and moved it back into the Boulder Creek. They actually believed that when I was placed in Boulder Creek, I was alive, and so the car crash did not kill me, but instead the elements and being out up in the mountains in early April. Even though my death was absolutely horrific, I am grateful that though he was not charged for my murder, he was charged for others, and I'm grateful that it was discovered that I am indeed Dorothy Gay Howard, that I'm more than just a mystery of a Jane Doe, because I was a daughter and a sister and a strong-willed teenager, and I'm happy that my life can be known as that, even though I didn't get to live all of it.